Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 152 of the Orange Pill Investor. And today I want to talk about why I am not taking any positions in GameStop, and it's basically because I'm too scared. I I like screwed around with it the first time it happened way back here. I think I was like selling puts or something. And from the way that I understand it, if you know what's happening with the short squeeze, you'd either be buying shares or buying calls and then just letting that shit multiply. But yeah, I made a little bit of money, selling some puts on its way up, and I managed to get out of here at some point. But even for an option seller, if you're not a degenerate long call buyer, the returns are insane. So a 10% return would be $2.75, and this is 370. So what is that, like 13% or so, or is it 15%? Yeah, like 13% returns per week. But the reason why they're paying this so much is because the price of GameStop could be 30 or 40 next week, or it could be $15 next week. So even getting, lowering the cost basis to $24 a share doesn't help me if the price is $20 a share. And if I was a believer in GameStop long term, then I would take this trade and I'd be like, if I get assigned, I'll just hold the shares. But when the chart looks like this, I don't know what to do with this. I don't. This, and I'm reminded of that saying of, was it gambling? If when you sit down to play poker, if you don't know who the mark is, it's you, or basically the patsy that everyone's going to fleece at the table. And I know that there are some people out there that know how a short squeeze works, and I've heard them talk about this, and supposedly the company is not set up in the same way when this short squeeze took place before, but they're pulling out the same playbook because I think they halted trading on Friday again. And so it looks like, okay, it worked last time. Maybe we'll just take the wind out of the sails. So I don't trust the fuckers in charge, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with GameStop. So I simply just don't do anything. And it's funny. I think making these videos actually saved me from taking a position because I was eyeballing it too. I'm like, oh man, it's happening again, and if it went to, if it went from $5 to 80 this time, and actually I think it was like 300 a share, but maybe GameStop did not a reverse split. They did a stock split, and so now the chart shows that it went up to 80. What is it, like 20x or something? And so if it went 20x again from 10, that would be like 300 a share. That'd be ridiculous. So you just, everybody wants to win the lottery. And so I was looking at these like, oh man, I could, even if I'm not a degenerate long call trader, just these juicy premiums are tempting as well. But I think making these videos actually saved me because when I'm showing my trades that I do every week, like I didn't want to be caught, somebody looking at my positions and being like, wait a minute, why is there a GME in here? And my my embarrassment wouldn't let me take a position, and so maybe that saved me because I was looking at the chart. What was it, last Friday, and there was so much hype here, and then of course it went from 46 and now it's almost in half. But Yeah, I only invest in assets that I believe in now, and obviously the big daddy right now is MicroStrategy, but only because it's an extension of Bitcoin, which I believe in. So I don't necessarily believe in companies for the next 50 years or 100 years, because CEOs change and all of the board members will be completely different, and there's just no way to tell whether the world is going to favor that company forever. But I do have that level of conviction with Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy as a leveraged, basically Bitcoin accumulation machine, and they pretty much have a monopoly on that to a certain at their level. But there's a lot of excitement in and around SMLR Scientific. So since they have started adopting this Bitcoin treasury, they have just gone bazoomni. So it was on at 20 on May 8th, and it's almost double. And they look like they're literally just copying MicroStrategy's playbook. Now, I would have already taken a position here because if they had options, because I would well, not necessarily prefer, but if the premium was reasonable and comparable to the mining stocks, I would have absolutely taken an options position here and just started selling covered calls. So it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes them to get options here, and if there's going to be weeklies, will I jump on that if the premiums look good, or even if they only do monthlies, maybe I'll do the strategy that I don't normally do, which would be to go out 45 to 60 days and then maybe roll the calls every 2 to 4 weeks. That is possible, but there's a little bit of FOMO here. I would have loved to have gotten in at 20, and not sure by the time they get options in here if if SMLR Scientific is like $50 a share by then. It'll be maybe a little bit too expensive relative to the miners, but if the premiums are juicy enough, it'll be something that I am taking a look at. They are definitely making their best pitch for there being a second best. And I know some folks are actually investing in this literally out of a show of solidarity. Like Bitcoiners who own MicroStrategy are literally buying shares of this company just because, like, hey, they're taking a chance. They're putting their reputations and their jobs really at risk to adopt this Bitcoin strategy. And I know some folks are just loading up on these positions just as a show of support, like, hey, let's reward these guys for doing the right thing. As far as the Bitcoin is concerned, anybody stacking sats is a good thing. So as soon as SMLR adopts options, I will definitely be recording a video talking about it. And grats to everybody who got in at 20 or 30 and are reaping the benefits of a Bitcoin treasury strategy in the from the company. I listened to the spaces that he's not even the founder. I don't even think he's the CEO. Is he the chairman of the board or something? Anyway, the guy who was kind of instrumental in bringing that strategy about, and it was really cool to hear him talk. He seems really switched on. He seems like he really understands what Bitcoin is, and I think you have to really grok that shit in order to hold onto Bitcoin with conviction through through the good times and the bad. And let's just go 5 years. It's the longest Robinhood will let me go through. But it's all well and good when you're buying here at 26. And so I think they definitely do have a lot of conviction because they're buying in here at like 60 and 70. They're buying at all-time highs. So they are very confident that this is going to benefit them. But it'll be interesting to see how high it pumps the rest of this year and through 2025, and then how these stock prices react to Bitcoin going from, losing 75% of its value, going from 60 to 15, and more than 75, was it like 80%? Something ridiculous. You definitely have to have that conviction in the asset in order to weather these bear cycles. And it was nice to see that he does seem to really understand it, and they will definitely need that strong leadership in order to talk people off the ledge through these downturns. Going from 13 to 60, 70 is everyone's dream, but then how do you manage this? It's going to be interesting to see. So Doc Kruger had a really good Kelly Criterion video on the optimal Bitcoin allocation, and as far as Kelly was concerned, it was 52%. So it'll be interesting to see if other companies, I don't want to say necessarily do Bitcoin better than MicroStrategy, because it sounds like Saylor's like, we're never going to sell our Bitcoin. But I don't know if that means that when Bitcoin hits 150, 200, 250, half a million, whatever, I don't know if that means that he won't rent it, because he has alluded to ways that people who hold Bitcoin can generate yield from that. And he's even given the metaphor of like, what if you need Bitcoin to transact with a company that requires that you own some Bitcoin? And if you don't own any Bitcoin, well, then you got to go get some, but you may not want to buy it for 30 minutes and then do your business transaction and then sell it, and now you're incurring some kind of capital gains. So it'll be interesting to see if you can loan it or rent it, even for just short periods of time, so that different businesses or maybe even AI bots that are performing transactions on persons or companies' behalf will just be borrowing or renting Bitcoin for a short period of time. And it'll be interesting to see if Saylor adopts some of those things when Bitcoin has doubled and tripled and whatnot. Kind of a way to generate yield from Bitcoin without actually selling the Bitcoin, because he's famously stated that they'll be buying the top forever. But it'll be really cool to see if someone like an SMLR or any of these other companies adopt more of a Kelly Criterion style, meaning, let's just say that they had half of their assets in Bitcoin, or if you were down here and you went 90% or something Bitcoin, but then when Bitcoin 10x's, then you sell half and you go down to a 52% allocation or something like that. And then when Bitcoin drops 75%, then you use all that cash to load up on Bitcoin again. It will be cool to see if anyone else develops a more strategic or surgical Bitcoin treasury strategy, instead of just, we're going to, it's going up forever, so we're going to buy the top forever. That seems to be the way that Saylor wants to play it. But maybe a even smaller company might be even a little bit more agile. So that'll be cool to watch develop, and makes me want to form my own company and take it public just so I can have a company with with one employee and absolute and like no business whatsoever other than just holding Bitcoin on its balance sheet. That would be an interesting thing, because Saylor's company at least has business with software as a service or business data development. I can't remember what the hell he even does. But what if a company was created that was just had no actual business other than buying Bitcoin? There was no business side that existed at all. That would be kind of cool to see what would happen with the stock price of something like that. And literally just one employee. I mean, I'm sure you'd have to hire lawyers and accountants or whatever, but literally just having yourself as the only employee in the company, and your entire value would just be around how much Bitcoin you can hold and borrow to accumulate. But that's why I'm not touching GameStop with a 10-foot pole, is because I don't know what the play is. If people understand what short squeezes are, and they know it's going to line up the same way, or maybe even better than last time, or not necessarily better, but it's just going to happen at some point. But just like this, I guess if you know when to get out, but I don't know when to get out. If it went to 80, how did I know it was not going to go to 100? Or how did I know it was just going to crash back down to 10 and back up to 60 and ping pong around? Is it going to do that again, or is it just going to go down to $10 and stay there? I don't know. I don't know how to play it, so I'll just watch from the sidelines and try to control my FOMO emotions. So I'll just continue to trade the stocks that I do believe in, MicroStrategy, the miners. If SMLR ever gets options, I'll add them to my list and have some fun with it. All right. Be good, Joe.